Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth, the truth. Telling you, yeah, the truth, the truth. You have to go back to the roots, the roots. Go to the roots, to the roots. Yeah, man, you know, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know, the Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth, Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment, the Soninke warrior, the righteous and the true African. Abu, reveal the truth to them, you know, no matter how them try run from it, because none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Yes, we have to dig back the roots, yeah. Fire!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Afridamus Report. I'm your host, Afridamus. I want to welcome all of you to the Afridamus Report in today's edition of the Afridamus Report. You see, ladies and gentlemen, you are at a channel that's here to unite people with the truth. And sometimes some people might say, oh, you're dividing people. The truth can divide people sometimes too, okay? Because think about it. You know how people like to talk about, oh, Jesus Christ, this, Muhammad, that. Like they would quote you prophets. But think about it. Go and read the scriptures and see for yourself. Are those scriptures, those sayings that came from God? Are those sayings here to unite people? I highly doubt it. And I saw the example in my last few series of the Somali conversation. See, at the Afridamus Report, I am not like, a lot of this sensationalized, emotional, broken men who they look like they are men, but they're still children. They create gossip channels. They do not go out there and do the research and bring you the information that you need. When I first came to YouTube here, I've joined several panels. They talk about, oh, Pan-Africanism, mumbo jumbo. But you see, every time I join these panels, I would ask the question. Because they talk about unity, right? They want to unite Africa. But I always ask, what are we uniting on? Nobody can ever answer my question. Nobody can ever answer my question for some reason. Some would get upset. They would kick me off. They would say he's an agent. If I'm not an agent, I'm just a troll. If I'm not a troll, I'm here to divide. So one simple question and people are upset. And anytime people are upset by questions, they are not standing on the truth. Because you see, what I'm speaking of is people that are promoting, quote unquote, this Pan-African agenda. They get to decide what is Pan-African talk and what isn't. You would ask, what does this have to do with Somalia? You do realize Somalia is in Africa, on the Horn of Africa. So from the last previous shows, you guys remember we talked about the Jerer, meaning nappy-headed, Black Africans. So you have to realize every group of people you see have a long, long history. But for many Black African countries or Black people that talk, they are coming from a position of victimhood. So bringing in the Somalis, it is no shocker that, again, the Africans, quote unquote Africans, because they said Somalis are not, but Somalis are Africans. Because the Hoteps, believe it, if you're a Hotep, you know how they talk about that Egypt talk, all those people they talk about. The Black people they take credit for, the black people that defended Africa, the black people that kicked it with the pharaohs, you know those people, the people who were in the God game. Those people, you do realize those are Somalis, right? But then they turn around and say Somalis are not Africans. How crazy is that? Because Somalis are long ancient people. You guys witnessed the debate here. But as you guys know, I have to be the devil to bring you this conversation. Do you realize this? I have to be the devil, because if I'm not the devil, how can we have honest conversation? Think about that. You're not about to have that conversation in channels where the host is broken, where the host is a crybaby, where the host is depressed, where the host is looking for attention from the people, where the host is just talking about what's, today I'm feeling certain type of way. I want to be considered a light-skinned person. Oh, I want to talk about things that I haven't researched. That's not how it works. And most of you wonder why these people could not pass when they went to the 13th grade. Because you see, in the 13th grade, they like to accuse the white people, but they cannot stay on task. So that's what I did here. I said, these people like to, focus on skin color. They like to talk about the Somalis. Oh, they think they are better than us. By the way, let me tell you, I've never met a Somali that said that, by the way, okay? I've been around Somalis for quite some time. I've never met one that said this. But Somalis, they carry themselves like lions. Let me describe the lion to you. The lion is not the strongest animal, okay, in the jungle. It's not the fastest animal. It's not the smartest animal. But yet, the lion is king. The difference between a lion and an elephant is when the lion and the elephant comes face to face, the lion sees the elephant as lunch, and the elephant accepts being lunch. That's Somalis, because if you look at their history, they have a long line of history, and they were correct. They were in existence, in fact, in many, shown to be part of the civilization that we speak of today. They were, they are part of all that. You see? So today I'm going to talk about several things. Why it's smart and it makes sense for Somalis to join the Arab League. Because you guys remember there was a conversation here a couple of times, we talked about the Gerer, which Dr. R talked about. And if you look at my thumbnail, it makes sense for them to call you a Gerer. Do you see their hair? It's long and curly. So, but the reason why I pressed on that, because he's used it several times, so it's one of those things they really, it doesn't hold meaning, but he just said it because he even said Kunta Kinte. What does, it's just a name of an individual who was kidnapped into slavery. It makes no difference. I just want to make that clear. Me personally, I'm not upset. My feelings are not attached to any of this, but rather to bring you facts. And the Somalis came here, they stood their ground. There were a couple who wrote messages who were upset. It's okay. Sometimes there is some who get upset before they reach the next chapter. People have questioned, are Somalis Pan-African? Nobody is more Pan-African than Somalis. And I'm about to prove that to you guys here. And the reason why Somalia chose the Arab League instead of the Gerere League. The black countries in Africa, especially you look at the Pan-Africanists, the conversations they bring. You are talking to somebody who is presenting their values to you, their religion, And you completely dismiss it. Oh, this is what is bringing problem in Africa. Now you're proving to that person the fundamental thing, which is their connection to God. Because let me tell you, Somalis have been in the God game since the beginning. Nobody knows. Maybe when God's battles were fought, those pharaohs you see, some of them came from a region called Puntland, the kingdom of Puntland. Go look up what place is Puntland. Go look it up. That is present day Somalia, ladies and gentlemen. You know those curly hair people you see on the pyramids? Because I have been looking for somebody, because you got all these people that like to say, oh, we built the pyramids. Like that. I have never even seen these hoteps talk about Somalia. But the people that they claim they are black, these are our people. Guess who are those people that you're seeing on that pyramid? Some of them are Somalis, right? These present day Somalis that you are seeing, that's who they are. But then people say, oh, they are not, they are not African. They are African, but a different kind of Africa. Today, I want to show you when Somalia was superpower. Yes, you heard me, superpower. They were once a superpower. So this is why you look at it, they feel the way they feel. Because yes, I'm down on my luck, especially if they believe in the scriptures. They've seen prophets who have been down on their luck. Mind you, majority of Somalia is Muslim, right? Think about that for a minute. Even the Prophet Muhammad's own history, when you read it, he was once in the disadvantaged position where he and his people had to go be refugees in Medina. You can read the stories. Or you look at it when they said in the Old Testament, the story of Moses, where the Israelites were lost in the wilderness for 40 years. When they say the wilderness, it's not like they were just roaming in a forest all lost. No. Like how the Somalis are scattered around the world, that could be considered a wilderness because they are open to a different civilization. So if you look at it, their history is different from most other African history up until colonization. Because even the smart people, the people that they're claiming to be part of the builders of the pyramid, they're actually Somalis. They're actually Somalis. So today we're not going to die on the hill of Gerer, whether calling people Gerer or not. Every now and again, I might use the word Gerer, but I don't want you to feel offended, okay? I'm just gonna use, when I say Gerer, I'm talking about the other countries, the other African countries that are not part of the Arab League. That is if I forget and use Gerer. So I'm going to play this video and I'm going to analyze it as we go. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to give you my reason.
Somalia is a country located on the east coast of Africa, forming the shape of a horn. The country was known as the Land of Gods to the...
Are you guys seeing this, right? Some people have shown this. I've seen these pictures before. When they say, oh, we are the people that built the pyramid. But the type of Africans, West Africans are claiming to be us, they look like this. These are Somali people.
Ancient Egyptians, the land of the tallest men to the ancient Persians, the land of cinnamon to the ancient Greeks, the land of aromatics to the ancient Romans, and the land of the unicorn to the ancient Chinese. Frankincense, one of the gifts of the biblical three wise kings, came from ancient Somalia. To this day, the Roman...
Did you guys hear this? They've been in the God game a long, long, long time ago, from the Garden of Eden, it seems like. But here we go. Because the reason why this is even important to talk about, if you guys remember the conversation a Somali lady, Olimi, and a Pan-Africanist named Tunija had here. When the woman spoke of their belief system in Islam, Tunija was very offended. When in fact, I think it was hypocritical, because he knows even the country where he came from, Nigeria. The northern Nigerians, who are majority Muslim, would, Somalis would totally accept them because they share religion. They would accept them. But now you're telling a group of people who they put God first. You're saying, let's unite. You're not telling them what to unite on, but then you're dismissing their belief system in God. And you're saying that's a threat to you. Well, let's find out if Somalis believe in Allah is a threat to Pan-Africans.
The Catholic Church still sources all of its incense exclusively from Somalia, which remains the world's largest producer. Ancient Somalis were the first to domesticate camels in 2500 BC. And
did you guys hear that? The ancient Somalis were the first ones to domesticate camels. So now we're working into why it makes sense for Somalis to join the Arab League. I'll explain as we go.
Spread it to ancient Egypt and the Middle East. Somalia today still has more camels than any country on earth.
Did you guys hear that? Somalia has more camels than any place on earth. And these camels, people, Somalia, they have to make money off of them, either by selling the milk or the camels itself. Who is into camel milk? Why would, if I'm Somalia, okay, why would I join the AU, the Gerer League, the Black African League? Nobody in that sector is buying camel milk, because most Africans are lactose intolerant. So they're not buying that camel milk. They are not going to buy the camels. The Arabs are into camel. So advantage number one, it makes sense for them to form a league with them, because common interest number one, camels. No, number one is the religion, because the Arab League is Muslim. So religion box is checked. Makes sense, right? Because why would you join forces with people who don't share your belief system, your religion, and you believe in this? Why would you? What, based off of skin color or just being neighbors? It makes no sense. It makes no sense for them to do that. Because now, okay, you're telling me, okay, let's join together because, skin color, but our religions are not the same. You belittle my religion. You don't believe in God. That's what you tell me. How can we ever form a uniting force? It's not going to happen, because I don't trust you because you don't trust God, and you don't trust me because I trust God. So a Muslim and an infidel cannot join force. This is what is written in the book that most Somalis would bring up to you. But I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, the Arabs forces down their throat. That's an Arab religion. What religion are you going to introduce to them? The chicken foot religion? You don't think people have this information? People using chickens as sacrifices. Not everybody is into that. And now I see people coming on the internet talking about, promoting voodoo or whatever the hell that is. Or people worshiping snakes, or people worshiping the black woman. That is blasphemous to, actual religions. If I say actual religions, you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, I don't want people to use semantics. Oh, no, but these people are wrong, you know. Well, your religion, whatever that is, if it's not Islam or Christianity, you know, even in Africa, people don't recognize it. Even the people that are into the voodoo stuff, they have to hide to do it. So the internet likes to create, you know, a different type of reality that doesn't really match with, you know, what the truth is on the ground. So that's why I'm giving you the uncomfortable truth. It makes some people uncomfortable to hear the facts about why things are the way they are in Africa, or why certain people, you know, act the way they act. So I'm about to let this video continue so we learn a little bit about Somali history.
In the valleys of Somalia, 5,000-year-old rock paintings depict one of the oldest horse riding cultures in the world. Horses were also an important unit in the cavalries of medieval Somali kingdoms.
So they are a horse culture as well. They have a horse culture, which the countries close to them, Tanzania, Kenya, those people are not into camels or horses. So it will be hard to sell to them. So that's why they've always been in the international superpower scene. They don't just stand by. So I noticed with the arguments, many people they want to judge the Somalis based off of their today's condition. Oh, you guys are, you know, war-torn and, you know, and broke. But I noticed the Somali lady wasn't paying attention to that. She just slapped that to the side because they are thinking, you know, about two different things. They have pride in their history. They know, hey, this is just a one-off, but we can walk our way back to where we were. So they have a very glorious history on their own. So when their downfall came, they continue to fight on their own. They are all they got. And you're about to see that here, and everything would make sense to you.
Horsemen in the Kingdom of Adal, for example, wore protective armor for themselves and their horses. While the most
Now, FB and Nigel, they're camel and horse culture. As you can see, they breed horses too.
famous horse in Somali history belonged to the Dervish king. The oldest surviving sewn ship in the world is the Somali Bedouin ship.
So you see, they are seafaring people as well. They've traveled to other continents, you know, areas that still control, you know, what we would consider to be the world's civilization. So you see the power of the internet. We come here, you know, we learn about things that, you know, pretty much they've been like a mystery to many. But people like to get into the shouting match about who's winning and who's not winning. No, we're just talking about things that already happened. Because see, I am in the today and future game. But the past gives you a template on what to do, what not to do, and what you understand, you know, why things are the way they are. You don't do that with bitterness. Just because you learned something, you weren't there to dictate that. So I don't understand why many people, their go-to is to be upset, to be mad. But if you talk about how these people are losing, then they like hearing that. That doesn't make any sense. So we have to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It was historically used to ship important quantities of spices across the ancient world. Strabo credits the cinnamon people of ancient Somalia to be the first with the knowledge of the monsoons. The Somali people are one of the oldest Muslim nations in history, A 1,400-year-old mosque in the city of Zayla dates back to the very foundation of Islam.
So you see, Islam is part of Somalia's foundation. So when you get a Pan-African African trying to shame a Somali for holding on to her Islam, to me that's pretty crazy. It's pretty wild to watch. But you see, when people gather in these echo chambers where they want to talk about quote unquote unity, they are uniting in lies. Or when they ask, oh, what are you doing? You don't see what I'm doing? Where else? I mean, a lot of these people, just listen to them. They've never received such information, such education. They've never received it. But now, this is why when I present it, oh, they are shocked. How dare you come out here and speak the truth? We would have to dox you like a ratchet hood rat. Oh, because we hate what you are teaching the people. We hate that you are showing this information. So therefore, we would just form alliance and dox you. Oh, you're going to go learn about my government name? Everyone already knows it. Maybe if you're paying attention, you would too. But why do you want to call me by my government name? You are online. I'm calling you by the name that you presented. Why do you want to call me by my government name? You think that's going to upset me? No, it's not going to upset me. I could care less. It makes no sense. But you see, they take these things personal. How can people like that ever learn? How is that possible? You say you are in the business of uniting Africans, but yet you don't know African history. So I would say, I'm here to divide the people with the truth instead of uniting you guys with the lies. Because when you know the truth, it's easier to understand other people. Maybe if you fancy camels and camel milk, you probably never knew that Somalia produces more camels than any place on earth. But being here, you're learning that, in fact, Somalia is that place. And also, I'm going to shed light on why Somalia is not rocking with the other nations in Africa like that. You will see why.
When the early Muslims received refuge from the Aksumite Empire and the Horn of Africa, the medieval Silk Road gold trade between Africa and Asia was founded by Somali merchants from Mogadishu who established a colony in modern Mozambique and extracted gold from the mines of the Mono-Matani.
What African, you see, they had their own colonies. That means, because most people like to run to, the negative side of when they hear colony. If you places and people that were able to have colonies, that mean all that's saying is they are just way more sophisticated than those societies. So they've been sophisticated a long time ago. You can't hate the player, just hate the game. I mean, they colonized Mozambique. The people that were there, hey, they were not in the colonizing game. I mean, if you are just there and you don't have an agenda, guess what? Somebody else has an agenda and they're going to put you a part of their agenda. So whether you're going to like that agenda or not, that's the next question. But who are you to try to shame me for putting my agenda to works? So this is what I have been seeing on the internet. Instead of uniting your mind with the raw truth, it's not going to kill you. I'm not here to taunt anybody. I'm not here to troll anyone, but to lay out the facts. Because I've been seeing around on YouTube, people are busy using their emotions. I realized we need a channel that's going to bring out the truth, bring out the raw truth so people can learn. Education can be uncomfortable sometimes, but it's needed. So the Somalis, Somalia in ancient history, think about it. They were sophisticated enough, had enough power. They navigated the sea. They were going all over. They even had their own colonies, as you heard. So if you're from a history like that, imagine you would feel good about your people. So if you come across the people that you guys were colonizing, they're going to feel deflated. Even if you're not saying, I'm above you, but in their head, some insecure ones, that's what's coming out. So that's why I was pressing on that Jarrell thing, because I'm like, why are people, so bent out of shape about it? It wasn't that I'm offended whatsoever. I could care less. But for me, it's education. Because the way I look at things, it doesn't mean everybody that's watching here or coming to watch. Look, I'm not crazy to believe all of you see things the way I see it. This is why I present it. This is why it's okay for you to disagree with me or agree with me. But as long as you know to separate yourself from the personal feelings, because this has nothing to do with me or you. This is just information that I'm giving. I'm just the messenger here. Let's go.
Kappa Kingdom of Southern Africa. Madagascar was named after Mogadishu. Marco Polo, during his stay in Imperial China, confused the wealthy Sultanate of Mogadishu with the large island in the Indian Ocean. During that same period, the infamous Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan sent a delegation to Mogadishu.
So, the Somalis were exchanging letters with the Mongols. Kublai Khan. These were powerful ancient kingdoms. So, these were like the superpowers of those days. So that explains where they are coming from, the mindset. Their international relations have been on point from day one. The other African nations are new in this game.
To establish Mongol trade with medieval Africa. Suspected of being spies scouting out the continent,
I'm sure from Mongolia, the most famous emperor you guys heard of would be Genghis Khan. So the country where Genghis Khan was from, Mongolia. So if you think about it, ancient time, they used to be powerful too. But today, they are not, they are the least powerful country in the world.
Mongols were imprisoned. Kublai Khan then sent another delegation, and they, too, were imprisoned. This swift action by the Somali sultans most likely saved Africa from any further Mongol interest.
So, if anybody don't know the Mongols' history, I'll have to bring that here. See, if the Mongols have penetrated Africa, today Kenya, Tanzania, all those places, they would have been Asian-looking people. Do you guys know this? Look at the places the Mongols, swept through. Most of them now look Asian. So if the Mongols have entered Africa, into Kenya, Tanzania, all those countries, majority of them would have looked Asian today. So Somalis prevented that.
The Somali Empire of Adal introduced cannon warfare to the African continent in its war against Abyssinia and the Portuguese Empire. Adal was also the first African power to defeat a European power on African soil since the...
Did you guys hear that? The Somalis, they were the first African nation to defeat a European power. So you know how people like to talk about back in the days, the Greeks, the Romans, okay? You know how you don't hear a story between the Greeks and the Nigerians, because Nigerians weren't in the game, okay? Somalis were already in the Greek, the Roman game. So they've been defeating these people since back then. So now you understand their fighting spirit. Even think about going against America. While I see on the internet, some of these West Africans are busy, they're not talking about how their countries are going to challenge America to a battle. They are telling us how another country can kick America's ass. The Somalis, they're not talking. You guys remember Black Hawk Down, right? Because they had the clan war. You had General Farah Aidid, who was the most popular one, and other clan people. Different clans were fighting each other. But you know, the Americans came and the clan leader, they radioed each other. They met in a clan meeting. They said, hey, check this out. We can fight each other, but now we have an outside force. This outside force, we have to agree that they are our enemy. So let's unite and fight them. Because if they prevail, both of us are going to be enslaved. Rightfully so. The Somalis, in fact, after they did that, the Americans came, they thought they got it. And the Somalis, you think the Somalis were busy saying, oh, these are Americans? Oh, we are scared? No. They fired the first RPG at the Americans. So you guys know the rest of the story. That is, people who are into it, you know the rest of the story, where that Black Hawk Down story came from. The point is, the Somalis did not back down. They had a long, long history from this era when they were fighting, defeating, places that were considered world superpowers. They were fighting the Greeks, the Romans, even during the Pharaoh's time. They were kicking it with the Pharaohs. In fact, some of the Pharaohs are related to some of their people. Did you guys know this? I think some of you Hoteps should go investigate this, because now I'm seeing people from West Africa talking about they built the pyramid. You guys need to stop with that, since now I have revealed the information. It was Somalis, okay? Because I've shown you the pictures. Next time they show you the people of the pyramids, remember the thumbnail, the picture that I showed you, and compare it. You would see exactly what I'm telling you. Don't take my word for it. You can do your own investigation and see exactly what I'm seeing. And by the way, I'm not just telling you my opinion. I read about it, and you guys remember Olimi that comes here? She calls herself Punt. She named herself after what their kingdom used to be. Land of the gods. You guys have heard that? So this is why you cannot dismiss God when you're dealing with Somalis, because that they've been believing in God for quite some time. And that's not in the value system of the Pan-Africanists. They don't believe in that kind of stuff. So it's not going to work. And it's okay to discuss that. But people get into their feelings and try to demonize other people. Like, dude, do you feel that inferior about your own system? Do you feel inferior about your own idea that much that you want to force everybody to accept it? To me, when you do that, you're telling me, no, this is not good. That's misery. That's misery.
Battle of Cannae between the Carthaginians and the Romans 1800 years earlier. During the war, Cristavo da Gama, son of Vasco da Gama, was defeated and killed by the King of Adal. The Sultanate of Mogadishu minted its own coins, which have been found as far away as modern Iraq, Turkey, and Dubai.
You guys hear that? The Somalis were so advanced, they had their own coins. So in sub-Saharan Africa, they didn't have coins, they had cowries. So the economic thought process is not even the same. That doesn't mean that West Africa is inferior to them, but they've been where West Africans are trying to get to. They've been there a long, long, long time. Not today. Not today. I know some people are gonna take this personal, but eventually I'll drop the link. You can come and defend that. Just don't, focus on what is being said here. Everyone's idea is welcome. Just know that. And another announcement is, when you enter, into the stage here to speak, please, people, you can disagree with people, but let's not do the insults, because that takes away from what we are talking about. Defeat the individual with facts. You don't need to insult somebody to make a point, because what that does is that disrespects the show. And this is a family-friendly show. Okay? And I get it. Sometimes some people feel like they want to vent, but this is not the place for it. Because as you guys know, I'm not over here yelling at people using profanity. So there's no reason to hit my link and people using profanity on the show. I would hope if you're triggered enough to hit the link, that would mean you want to come here and address the topic at hand and focus on that topic, rather than get personal or getting, upset with the host. Why get upset? If you don't like my topics, you can always go do your own topics, on your own channel, plain and simple. But when people try to tell you, oh, no, you shouldn't talk about this, this is what you're supposed to talk about. Oh, you should talk about, pandas. Fine. I mean, do you like pandas, dude? Sure. Why don't you make videos about pandas? I have no knowledge about pandas. I have no plans about talking about pandas. It doesn't mean I have anything against pandas. But if that's what you want to do, you do that. But there's no reason to come back and say, oh, Afridamus, you're not talking about what is important. Let's not do that, okay? Let's continue.
In the 1580s, a Somali fleet from the Ajuran Empire joined a Turkish fleet from the Ottoman Empire and began attacking Portuguese strongholds across southeast.
Amilcar X. Amilcar, are you hating on Somalis already? You see? So I'll drop the link. Don't worry, Amilcar. You can come here and tell me those are not Somalis. You see, Amilcar, I think you're hating on Somalis already.
Eastern Africa to free the Swahili world from Portuguese domination. In the year 1660,
do you guys remember when the Somali woman was talking about how they didn't, the Swahilis, those are the people who were, they enslaved those people there in Tanzania, so they said the Somalis were talking about how they freed those people, and other people like, no, liars. But it is true. It is true. They freed the Swahili world from the Portuguese enslavement. So you would agree that there's nothing more Pan-Africanist than that, right? And they didn't do this from the computer. They went to battle.
the Portuguese surrendered to a joint Somali-Omani force at Mombasa in modern Kenya. The only hydraulic empire in medieval Africa.
So they saved present-day Kenya, Tanzania, and you would hear several other countries.
Was the Somali-Ajuran Empire. With a network of limestone wells, cisterns, and dikes, it successfully utilized two large East African rivers to project power. In the 13th century, a Somali explorer named Said of Mogadishu traveled to Arabia, India, and China. In the 14th,
You guys see, Somalis have been sending even explorers. So that's why when I hear people talk about, oh, how come you travel? Dude, do you understand how the Westerners, the Europeans, how they conquered the unknown, quote unquote, unknown world? And when people say, oh, the Europeans said they discovered this, people think they are being silly. They are not saying that other people didn't discover it. Hey, you're there, you don't know what it is. This is new to me. Guess what? I'm here to discover it. Okay? So they send people to go discover whatever, the place, the skills. This is what explorers were. And you know how that turned out. Imagine if Africans were in the explorer game. African countries would have never been victims, being the one that everyone shared on the plate. They would have been in the game themselves. But again, I'm just bringing out things to show you how everything happened. It's the mindset. You look at these people who they are in the Horn of Africa. Look at their mindset from even medieval times. Now we know why they survived this long.
Century, a Somali explorer, Abdul Aziz of Mogadishu, became ruler of the Maldives. In the 15th century, a Somali saint founded a town across the Red Sea in modern Yemen, which grew into a formidable seaport.
So you guys see, so it was the opposite, the reverse. So instead of the Arabs coming to Somalia, finding the place and colonizing them, it was the opposite. So they sent their explorers across into the Arab world and other places. So when Africans or Black people speak of colonization, since many are traumatized from, every time African come in contact with other people, the African have to be the one subjugated. You can colonize people, you don't need to subjugate them. Here in America, the Chinese are into many businesses. That's why it blows my mind when people say the Chinese are buying up Africa. No, they are buying up America. Because in America, you can buy whatever, So it depends on what you're interested in, you see? So it was the opposite. The Somalis weren't the one who the Arabs came, quote unquote, conquered or whatever. No, they went and established themselves in Yemen. Let's continue.
The first Muslim settlement in Sri Lanka was established by a Somali saint. Somali merchants introduced coffee to the world. Grown in modern Ethiopia, Somali merchants exported the now famous stimulant from the Somali port of Berbera to Yemen and the rest of the world in the 15th century.
Do you guys hear this? So, even Ethiopian coffee, Somalis were the first ones to introduce it internationally. Because I know some are going to say, oh, Africa didn't count in the international. People, I'm just telling you, Africa, when people like to say Africa wasn't in the game, you're fooling yourself. You do realize Somalia is in Africa. But they were the sophisticated Africans dealing with the international world. They've established their customers, people they deal with from a long, long time ago. They have a history to look back on what, each group, every other group was doing, what position they were in. So you can be mad at them for having hindsight 2020. You can be upset. Okay?
Somali merchants introduced exotic animals to imperial China. The Somali word for giraffe is still used in China, Korea, and Japan. Two major medieval scholar families from Somalia are credited with important literary works in Islam and produced viziers, scientists, and scholars, serving the Mamluk sultans of Egypt, Damascus, and the Ottoman Empire. In the 18th century, Abdurrahman al-Jabarti recorded the Napoleonic invasion of Egypt. In southern Morocco, Somali merchants established one of the largest and
So I understand some people now. I get it when like some of these Somalis get into it with the newer African colonies. They're like, oh, you guys rely on Western system. Now you understand, because not only do they rely on their own system, they even are able to introduce their system in other places. That's how sophisticated they are. So it makes sense why when somebody was talking about the Somalia of today, if you go back and watch the video, the Somali woman, it didn't even faze her. It didn't even faze her because she knows it's in their DNA. They have the blueprint to work themselves back to this glory. Okay? So now you got somebody talking about, oh, we're Pan-Africanists. You shouldn't believe, you believing in God, that's detrimental to Africa. That part definitely didn't make sense to me. Oh, shaming Somalia for joining the Arab League. Are you going to buy the camel milk? You don't drink coffee. You don't drink camel milk. You don't buy camel meat or ride camels. What use are you to me? Even if I'm Somalia, guess who I'm going to be? What club I'm going to be in? The club that's into camels. The club that's into coffee. The club that's into the things that I produce, the club that shares the same ideology as me. So as you can see, all these battles, they fought on their own and they fought for other nations that were around them. So historically, they've stood up on their own. What can you say to them?
most popular mosques. It's still known as the Somali Mosque. The oldest African community in the United Kingdom was established by Somali sailors. In the 19th century, Somali Sultan Ali Yusuf Kenedid raised an army from Arabia and carved out a kingdom in northeast Somalia. The only Muslim power in Africa during World War I was the Dervish state of Somalia. The Dervishes fought the longest anti-colonial war in African history and built fortresses across East Africa.
So you realize, not even that long ago, the people that fought the colonialists that came to Somalia, guess what they were? These people is based in their Islamic faith. So you're telling those people, no, come and form a unity with me. So, but you don't believe in what they believe in. You believe in begging your quote unquote your oppressor to free you. You're begging somebody that you said is oppressing you. Oh, please don't oppress me. But if you feel oppressed, why don't you free yourself? So if you have the mentality of, I can free myself, I can go do what I want to do because my message comes from a higher power. And the other one is like, I want somebody else to free me. You need, like you're already a weak link. Why would I want to align myself with that? That will only bring me down. That's what I gathered from that conversation. So history have proven the Somalis have seen over a long period of time. Mind you, they already have record of, what the wars were like. And it continues. And they continue to prove themselves. When American soldiers came to Liberia, when they came to Liberia during the war, the Liberians were over there shooting at other Africans. They were brave. But when the Americans came, what happened? The Liberians were scared to shoot at the Americans. The Somalis weren't. They had few British Marines, British soldiers they sent to Sierra Leone. The Sierra Leonean rebels, they were there shooting at everybody, chopping off everyone's hand. But just a few white men, they stood down they were able to complete their mission. Not in Somalia, because they don't think that way. And they've watched all this. They've been seeing it. They watched it. They're like, man, we can't rely on these generals. I mean, these generals have not changed from even medieval time. People can just come and conquer them. Or, even today, they have AK-47s like us, RPGs. Look at them running. They are not shooting at the white, Americans. They are fantasizing. They've seen all this. They've seen the tests in Liberia and Sierra Leone. And, they failed it, especially Liberia. Let's continue here.
Hasna, a Somali female commander, led one of the 7 divisions of the...
Oh, Miss Leia James over here I'm not talking about in 1823. I'm talking about in 2002, 2003, when they came for Charles Taylor and prior to that. That's what I'm talking about.
The Dervish Army. The Somali Republic is the only African country whose borders were created by Africans. In 1960, the northern and southern parts of modern Somalia formed a historic union to...
This is funny. Amelka said, did only me put this video together for you? That's funny. Wait, Amelka, are you going to hate on Somalis that much? Really? Now you gotta accuse only me for putting this together. Why don't you do an investigation, your research, and try to debunk it? I know, Amelka, I'm messing with you. But yeah, this is funny.
Establish a new country. Women in Somalia voted in elections before women in Switzerland.
Okay, Somalis, I'm just messing with Amelkar. He does not hate Somalis. I'm just messing with him.
The first head of state to peacefully relinquish power in Africa was the Somali president Aden Abdulli Osman. In 1962, future Somali President Ali Shamarke went on a state visit to the United States and was welcomed by President John F. Kennedy.
Miss Gemslayer, I never said America did. When they came and, Charles Taylor had to back down, they didn't want the war to stop. Remember that? If they wanted to, it will. At the time that they wanted it to stop for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to take over, they put a complete stop to it. So I take that back. They did, in fact, stop the war when they wanted it to stop.
Both presidents were assassinated in the 60s, despite their popularity.
So Somalia's president was assassinated the same year that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, one of their presidents. So they were still, while these other African countries are fighting for independence, saying, oh, free us. Somalis are over here like, hey, we're here trying to continue forming our international relations. We're going to form relations with the New World people. Because, see, people don't realize. You go read about America, right? They refer to it as the New World. Think about it, the New World. Meaning the white people came here, they conquered the native Indians, and they are like, hey, everybody's invited here. They enslaved black people, the Africans, the Chinese, other people. So now they open the market up. Because how can they feel comfortable trying to keep this land by themselves and keep everybody out when everyone now knows the history? That's going to be a problem. So they are smart for inviting everybody in. They're like, oh, now you're hooked to the land. Now you've pledged allegiance to the land. Blood is on your hand too, if there is any. But my point is, people have been conquering lands, for millennia. It didn't start with the white people, and it will not end with them. Okay? So that's why when people talk about 1884, in fact, I'm going to do a show on that. how a single European, gangster, passing himself off as king, finessed the Congo from the Congolese kings. If those Congolese knew how to read like the Somalis, that wouldn't have happened. But I don't want to get into that today. That will be another topic that people are going to learn things that they've never even, thought about. But you see here, this is Somalia's former president. Back when John F. Kennedy got killed, Somalia's president also got assassinated. So back in the 60s, they were assassinating presidents.
Clarity with the masses. Two of Africa's and the Middle East's largest film festivals were the Mogadishu
FBI Nigel, they didn't have the smoke. They didn't have it. That's my whole point.
Film Festival and the Mogadishu Pan-African Film Symposium.
Did you guys hear that? The Mogadishu Pan-African Symposium. Think about this for a minute. Even Ethiopia, look at where the AU's, headquarters is. The only way they would allow that to even happen, the headquarters have to be in Addis Ababa. They're not going to allow the headquarters to be in, like sub-Saharan Africa. It's not going to make sense. So it makes sense that Somalia doesn't join, because you do realize Somalia and Ethiopia have, some sort of beefs. So Ethiopia is not Muslim. Why would Somalia allow Ethiopia to have that control over them, or where the control is? Makes no sense. So people have to think logically here.
The most expensive African film ever made is the 1982 4-hour-long epic, The Somali Dervish. Somalia's funky music.
AC Block said, Afridamus, do you think West Africans will conquer the rest of Africa by the year 2190? AC, that's a very, very good question. I don't see that happening, to be quite honest. I don't know if I would say conquering, but if they, I don't know. I haven't thought about that, to be quite honest. I haven't thought about it. But hey, it's possible, because the numbers are there. And, Nigerians have the number, and they are also willing to travel. But as far as conquering other places, I don't know about that, to be quite honest. Because places like Somalia is not going to let other people in, and I don't blame them. If I was Somali and from a unique, group, and this is what our history is, why would I let other people, come and create confusion? I'm familiar with our confusion, and I would stick with that. Okay?
The musical scene in the 1970s was popularly known as Moga Disco. One of Africa's first female fighter pilots was Osli Abede Hassan of the Somali Air Force, who soloed her first flight in 1976.
Did you guys see that? The first female pilot in Africa, Somalia.
In 1981, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the NBA's all-time leader in points, coached the Somali basketball team.
You see, the Somalis have had long history with even ADOS, not only the white Americans, even the black Americans. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, basketball great, coached the Somali basketball team. Okay? So before they had all these, the war there, they had a prestigious, history that, as you can see, they were doing their thing. So I don't want people to think, oh, we're just going to talk about today thing, or just the Jarrell thing, and not put out the full picture. Because you guys know, like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I got to give it to the Somalis. They didn't come here and say, oh, don't you dare talk about my country. They engaged the conversation. They are not gloating. In fact, they want people to know about their history. They didn't do like others saying, why you talk about us? What are you trying to hide? You know, nothing here to hide. We're just having a conversation. Why Pan-Africanism would work someplace and why it wouldn't work anywhere. My point here is Somalis, as you can see, proof, fact in their action, they are Pan-Africanists. Their Pan-Africanism is not only extended to the people here, in Africa, all the way to black people in America. They hired a black coach to come and, train their team. There's nothing that says Pan-Africanism than that. Let's continue.
During the African Championship in Mogadishu, the Somali team went from nobodies to continental heavyweights, jumping to Africa's top 3. Somalia was the first African country to sign a friendship treaty with the Soviet Union. 5,000 Somali soldiers and students at one point trained and studied in the Eastern Bloc. Soviet cosmonauts trained in Somalia to prepare.
So do you guys understand everything I'm telling you here, right? Go listen to some of the, these Pan-Africanists, what they are talking about. This is why in the beginning I said they're trying to get to where Somalia have already been. When you listen to them, what do they preach? Oh, the Africans that are in the West, they should go back to Africa. But you see, Somalia, they were sending their people when the country was stable. They were sending them to go study things. Even when, explorers were the ones that were bringing information, they had their own explorers. But now you got these cheap ass Africans coming around talking about, you're coming from that place where the governmental system didn't work. They didn't contribute to anything that you're doing, your own research, and they didn't contribute to anything. But they're telling you should go give your loyalty to those people when those people were not loyal to you. How does that make sense? So this is why, if you notice, the conversation was different when the Somalis came on the panel, because their loyalty and their values, they maintained it, and it lied to Somalia. Because as a group, their clan, everybody supported that. But now you got a group of people who, half of them, like, they can pretend to be with you, but the moment they disagree with you, now they hate you. That's because you don't share the same values with these people. The people that are calling for this quote-unquote unity. That's why when you point out the unity, they get mad. This is why when you bring the Somalis, and the Somalis say, hey, we want to do our own thing, people get mad. Why don't you go look at how they've been doing it? Why are they so confident that they want to do their own thing, but you want to insult them? You want to make them mad. Oh, Somalis don't care about Africans. They are Africans. Well, okay, when Somalis, the war is going on, when America came there, which African country took up arms to go help them? Who did? Nobody did. In fact, people just kicked back, grab their popcorn to see how this is going to end. That's what they saw. Yes, some places open up the border to allow, Somali refugees to come in. Hey, that's the least they can at least do, because they saved that place from turning, today's Kenyans and Tanzanians into Genghis Khan's, or Kubla Khan's great-great-grandchildren. It's just history, what had happened, for us to learn. I'm not trying to make anyone feel any kind of way. Because, like when you go to a history lesson, do you get upset when you read something that is not in your favor? No, because you have no control over it. Just like you have no control over anything. But all you can do is get the information. And What you do with that information also is going to determine if you've learned or not.
prepare for their missions in space. The airport of Berbera, with the longest runway in Africa, was also one of NASA's designated emergency landing points on Earth for the iconic space shuttle. The Ogaden War was the longest conventional war fought in Africa since World War II, with the heaviest mechanized and aerial battles. It resulted in the largest Soviet intervention and airlift since the march towards Berlin in 1945, just to push back the Somali soldiers who had overrun.
Liberia took the Somali street name down and renamed it to the Chinese name. Yeah, well, the Chinese, they paid a lot more money this time around. See, you know how like the Pan-Africanism thing, people are not even united on anything. It's just to pretend and say, oh, I love you and I love you. Okay, we good. But now, let's do this thing in a smart way. Like, we all know what to do. Like, okay, if I don't have anything to sell to you, or you don't see anything to buy from me, it will be hard to do business. And that's my whole point. You cannot tell people they cannot focus on where their interest lies. It makes no sense. And in the meantime, you're trying to dictate to them, how things should be done. But your history doesn't prove that. They can rely on you. You haven't proven it. So that's a problem.
The Ethiopian Empire, the Somali pharmaceutical.
They say you're fueling the war. I don't know what war they are talking about, because suddenly the Somalis don't care. You think the Somalis are sitting there thinking about these people? They're not. Okay? They are not. So there's no war. In fact, I can assure you. Look at it. Last couple of shows, many Somalis could have been upset and say, oh, you're fueling this. But they said, no. Some of them, they point things to me. They say, go research this. Check this out. They are very confident. They say to me, go check this out. Check this out. But you see, the empty-headed crybabies, oh, Afridamus is fueling a war. So you mean to tell me you are so ratchet? Even when you receive information that is beneficial, you interpret it as war. That tells me your maturity level and understanding level is too low for you to even be coming to the Afridamus report here. So since when? Imagine you're talking about topics. People think about war. So that it's wild. You guys think AC is joking? He's not. There are people that think this way. That's why he's laughing. Or her. I'm not sure about your gender.
Industry at one point mass-produced 48 essential drugs and was one of Africa's largest hubs for pharmaceuticals.
Exactly, Ras Moise. Exactly.
Mogadishu was known as the White Pearl of the Indian Ocean and a major tourist magnet. Somalia in 1974 launched Africa's largest literacy campaign and won a UNESCO medal after the country's literacy rate jumped from 5% to 75%. Somalia built Burundi's Air Force.
So, you would even see, did you hear that? Somalia built Burundi's Air Force, a small East African country. Let's see who else Somalia helped.
Protected the borders of Tanzania and
Protected the borders of Tanzania,
Uganda, flew
Uganda,
jets for Zambia, defended Mozambique from the Portuguese, trained South Africans fighting apartheid, supplied Eritrea's War of Independence, sent troops to Angola, sent medics to Equatorial New Guinea.
Did you guys hear that? Even Equatorial Guinea. They helped Equatorial Guinea. And all these places, you could look this up, like, because as you guys know, when I'm doing my research, when I find footages, I like to read also so it matches, different sources. Someone said all of that is in the past, but I'm just saying why that past is so glorious that they are fighting to get back and even better than that past. They even helped Equatorial Guinea. Okay? And you're going to hear somebody, oh, when you talk about my country, I'm talking about Somalia helping you guys. And you should thank them for it instead of talking smack.
Supported Egypt with naval logistics.
They even supported Egypt.
Supported Djibouti's independence movement. Supported Zimbabwe and Namibia's war against the apartheid forces.
Guys, Somalia have been carrying plenty of African countries on their back. So it's understandable why their energy is now low. They've been carrying people. Now let's see when it's time for people to carry them, if people did it. Let's see.
The country has a rich heritage filled with ancient and medieval cities, castles, towers, and fortresses. Somalia has produced more supermodels than any other country from the African continent.
So the people who are saying, oh, we don't like the Somali women, you guys see, they produce more supermodels, meaning beautiful women, than any African country. So they've been representing, in every aspect, all the way to beautiful women. Isn't that something?
The president of the International Court of Justice comes from Somalia, as does Olympic champion Mo Farah, award-winning rapper and poet Kanan, Nobel-nominated author Nuruddin Farah.
So there's a lot of Somalis that some people, you probably see them, you don't even know that they are Somalis, but they're from there. So this would help. They are true Pan-Africans, including Ilhan Omar. And you guys know, even Ilhan Omar, when she messes up, I call her out. But she's from Somalia as well.
U.S. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and many more. The Somali bandy team are the undisputed champions of Africa, as Somalia is the only country in Africa with a bandy team.
Did you guys know this?
The ancient Shah board game originates in Somalia and is played from Egypt to Tanzania. The most popular hat worn by Muslim men across East Africa originates and is exclusively produced in the Somali city of Brava.
See, they produce things that are popular. So even though like you see it, you don't even know that it's from Somalia. So I'm just bringing you this so you understand. It makes sense why they feel the way they feel. Why people say, oh, why does the Somalis think they are superior? Now you see.
Though Somalia is one of the most homogeneous countries in the world, the country has several important minority populations, such as
Dr. R kept repeating that. He said they are the most homogeneous country. But we'll see.
the Bajunis, the Brahmanis, the Benadiri, the Somali Bantu, and the Arabs. The Somali people are genetically and linguistically closely related to the Afars, the Hararais, the Oromos, the Bejas, the Amharas.
Well, that's where I'm confused. They said they're the most homogeneous, but maybe somebody can correct me, but they said all these other, it's like a different groups that came together, but maybe they're saying they're all one and the same group. I'm not sure.
The Saho, and other major groups in the Horn of Africa.
But if you look at it here, so it makes sense why they talk about the Gerer hair. You see this? So they're different from Arabs, most definitely.
Somalis are the only African ethnic group to have a sea named after them. Off the coast of Sicily lies the Somali Sea.
People, that's very important. In fact, speaking of, naming things, I used to always have, I don't want to say issues, but, I've always wanted to find out, how is it possible that you could have this, like you could have a place, mountain, trees, whatever, in your own country, but it's not named after you. It's not named after you. How is that possible? Like I just read, Leonardo DiCaprio, according to the scientists, they just discovered a new, tree in the Cameroon rainforest. And guess who they named that tree after? Guess what? Who? Leonardo DiCaprio. But the Somalis are like, And all through Africa, what do you say? Lake Victoria, places named after people who are from other places. But the Somalis are keeping it in-house, as it should.
Despite emerging from a civil war, Somalia still has the most deep-water ports on the African continent. With the longest coastline in mainland Africa, Somalia is one of 5 African countries selected by Reconstruction to become a blue economy giant. Somalia has 52 million heads of livestock, 27 million sheep and goats, 15 million camels, 5 million cows, and one of the richest fishing grounds in the world.
Now you see why they protect their sea. You remember when the woman said, the people we call pirates, they call their coast guard. Many people laughed at it, but then you thought about it. You're like, okay, who's going to stop these people? Who's going to stop these people? Because, since the country went into civil war, you have like the Europeans and others coming there, they turned the Somali water into dumping ground. So they didn't have a central government. So the people took it upon themselves. Since they have arms, they held these people accountable for their actions. So when the woman said it, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because the Western media is going to portray them the way they want to, but they are not telling you, me, and everybody else, how did they come in contact with these Somalis and why? What were they doing there for these Somalis to, quote unquote, take their ships, as ransom? What were they doing there? They're not going to tell you that.
Somalia's dairy industry is worth $3.3 billion. According to The Spectator.
See, Nilotic, you're right. If the Africans had the heart, the Indian Ocean would have been called the African Ocean. You're absolutely right.
Index, Somalia is also ranked first in global camel milk production. A Financial Times article.
Did you guys hear that? They are ranked number 1 in global camel milk production. Again, like I'm going to repeat it again. These other countries, the black countries, they're not drinking no camel milk. So why are you mad at Somalis for joining a group that actually drinks camel milk? Now you see why it makes sense? That's just one aspect of it.
Has stated that the best real estate investment in the world today is beachfront huts in Somalia. Somalia is considered a future energy superpower with an estimated 110 billion barrels of oil, 1/3 of the world's uranium reserves, the strongest wind power potential in the world, and 3,000 hours of sunlight annually. Somalia is a continental leader in mobile money, with a market worth $32 billion a year, which is larger than the economies of Albania and Jamaica. Somalia has the cheapest internet cost per gigabyte in Africa, and more than 70% of adults use a mobile phone. The Somali shilling has been the best performing currency in the world between 2010 and 2020. Somali Airlines was the first airline.
So, as you can see, that's why the woman kept saying, our future is promising again. Plenty of them have gone out and seen what's happening around the world, instead of when they only had few explorers to go explore. Think about that. And they have things to work with. Let's see. She said, in Niger, camel milk is super expensive. Camel meat tastes just like the lamb. Well, that, if you look at it, if I'm selling camel milk or camel meat or whatever, I'm looking for customers. If you're not into it, I have nothing against you. But see, many people, they just resort to, it's like this deep-seated conflict that's within them. So it rages out. I'm like, how did these people, did they ever sit in a classroom? Have you ever sat in through a history lesson? When they tell you something that happened or is going to happen, so you're just going to be upset because you have mommy or daddy issues? Is that what we're going to do? So people that are saying, oh, why not cover sub-Saharan Africa like Gambia, Senegal, all those places? This channel is for all over Africa, as you guys know, all over Africa, America, because we cannot say, okay, we're talking about Africa, and then pretty soon we say, no, we don't care about the Somalis, or the Somalis don't care. You don't know that. That's why I'm talking about these topics. There's plenty of us that are interested in this.
Flown entirely by African pilots. Mogadishu, the capital of Somalia, is the fastest growing city in Africa and is enjoying a major reconstruction boom. Somalia's Milky Sea is the largest bioluminescent area in the world, and with a total of 649 species, Somalia is a hidden bird watcher's paradise. Somalia has national parks, it has beaches, it has rivers, it has deserts, it has jungles, it has valleys, and it has stunning mountains. In 2020, because of its impressive economic reforms, Somalia has achieved debt relief and can finally focus on transforming the country and...
All right, so bottom line is, Somalia is doing a comeback. I'm sure there's plenty of people who maybe never realized this. So that when you hear these conversations where people use this shaming tactics, shutting people down, oh, because you're from within that land of Africa, you have to believe in, what I believe in. If you don't, then I'm going to break down. That's not how life works. You have to put things into perspectives. Yes, I understand nobody's like, I'm not saying, they are walking around saying they are better than other people. That's not the case, because majority of Somalis are Muslims, and if Islam doesn't accept that, or racism, it doesn't accept those things. And I can tell, I would hope, or from what I've seen, that's what majority abide by. That's what the majority abide by. So that's why I brought this here exclusively today, instead of just talking about what offends people and what doesn't. That was the presentation for Somalia. So now I'm going to open the lines for another 30 minutes since I have about 30 minutes more to go because I have other things to do here. Um, the lines are open. Um, hit the links. Please get straight to the topic. If you disagree with someone, that's okay. We can disagree respectfully. So let me pin this, people. Give me a second. All right. The lines are open. Hit that link. Come on in. Let's have the conversation and tell me, what you think about what you've seen. We have Fuller Sport. Hey, Fuller Sport, thank you for coming in again. Welcome to the Afridamus Report.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Fuller Sport, you were here the last time when we talked about the Jarrell and all that. What
Right.
do you think about what you've heard today about Somalia?
It's crazy because I watched that video before
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago, but I didn't like really um like I guess you can say I just glanced over it kind of, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really watch it in detail. So
Right.
there were some things in there that I was surprised about that Somalia did. But at the same time, I'm not really surprised about it and stuff like that because I don't know too much of the history about it, but there was a period where that country they had that guy, the one that you said had the Hitler,
Yeah, said
um,
Barry. But
yeah,
like if you look at it, knowing, especially
mhm,
like, because I'm sure you've heard other people try to say, "Oh, Somalis are they Pan African," or
right,
even in the previous argument saying, when the woman said, our religion and God comes first, and the Pan
right,
African was dismissive.
right,
So, after seeing this and understanding their history, who is
right,
more Pan African than
um,
Somalis? And also the breakdown that I gave
right,
as to why it makes sense for them to join the Arab League. Do you agree with my assessment, or
um,
want to add to
d-
it or push back on it?
o- okay, okay. So this is a video for another show, but
Hmm.
we have to look at like back in the day who what the Arabs looked like back in the day. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Hmm.
when Somalia was involved in what they were involved in trading and stuff like that. We have to ask ourselves, what did those Arabs look like? You know what I mean? At that time. Secondly, it does help to like actually know the Arabic language, or at least know how to read the Arabic language, so you can go into the sources, the original sources, and so you can see, actually what is exactly happened. Thirdly, you have to look at geo geopolitical like geography. um, Strategically, it's located by by those Gulf countries. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Must.
like
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
it doesn't
Hmm.
it, it doesn't mean that it's not an African country. It's just that like strategically, there's I think someone told me that in Eritrea and I think in like Somalia, if you go to certain points, you can like see Yemen from across the way. You know what I mean?
This is
So
true. This is
so
true.
so that's what we have to look at too. And then
But
um
you've heard in the presentation
right.
how even in during those times, Somalis have sent their people. They went to Yemen and set up their
Mhm,
own port. So their presence
right.
was always
Always there.
they was always there.
Was always
It's
there.
yeah. Like, are you surprised to hear that it was the opposite way, instead of like when people say, "Oh, it was the people from Yemen that came and imposed on Somalia," but like, these things are not always impositions, but rather it was Somalis that even went to Yemen and set up their base there.
Right, right.
It-
There's actually a story that there was a I think one of their sultanates, one of the Somali sultanates, I think what he did is he went to, I'm not sure if he went to Zanzibar or I don't know where he
Probably
went.
Swahili.
Yeah, but what he did is he killed the Omani Arabs and freed the Bantu slaves and just freed all slaves, regardless of religion. So I don't remember what his name was, but it just goes to show you that. And then on top of that, I think he made that the Omanis pay tribute to them,
Yeah.
pay tribute to the Somalis. So it doesn't really surprise me. I just want to add two more points and then I'll land. Number one, um, there's always been kind of like a history with the Somali and the Arab, because I think at one time Iraq was military training Somalis, and I think Syria was too. At
But
one
are
time.
you surprised to see that, the people that these people, the hoteps like to point out as the Africans that, were on the pyramids, who, like the Africans who were kicking it with the pharaohs. Like if you look at the caves, the hieroglyphics, the
Right,
pictures there. So these people, they
right.
claim, you surprised to know that these were actually Somalis?
Um,
Because their land used to be called Puntland
right,
during that era.
right. No, it doesn't really surprise me at all. Um, because when you look at it, a lot of those tribes like Afar, like Beja, um, who else? I think there was one more tribe, but they usually trace their lineage back to those ancient people. So it doesn't really surprise me or anything like that
Cool,
about
cool.
like that connection or anything like that. Um
Okay.
I think one more thing I want to say is I think the reason why these Pan-Africanists be in their feelings so much is because I think what it comes down to is that they're looking for a place where they can have their cake and eat it too, basically. Like hypothetically speaking, let's say if Somalia said, "Oh yeah, you guys can come all in. You guys can come in if you want to." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think the first objective for them, would be to get would be trying to get women. That's just my opinion because I there's not too many Somalians out here where I'm at, but Somalian women will tell me, yeah, these ADOS, they fetishize us so much. And they're
So
like,
you think it's a fetish?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
not gonna
Well, that
lie.
would be a different topic. But let
Yeah, I
me
think,
let me bring in Amilcar, and I'll put you
Mhm.
backstage,
yeah,
and bring somebody else in one
yeah.
second. Amilcar, go for it. Amilcar, thank you for joining me. Amilcar, why are you hating on the Somalis?
No, man, you need to stop that. I don't hate Somalis. No, no, I
Okay.
was. You see, it was the last show, and I need to apologize because the way that I came at Somalis, it wasn't right. What I wanted to tell you was the experiences that I had with Somalis here, and the thing was that Somalis always were begging other Muslims to join them, and those were the Muslims. They were putting Somalis down, clowning them, and saying that they were not real Somalis. They are black. They are. I think they use the name slave, but then I think it's something like Abdi or something like that.
A bit.
Abid. So they were talking like that. And I used to go to Somali friends of mine and telling them, why do you guys accept this? Oh no, they are just our brothers, Muslims and this and that. And I was telling them, because it was when I was 16, I was telling them, no, you guys are like us. And they were telling us, no, we are Muslims like them. I said, but those are the main people who put you guys down. Why do you guys accept this treatment? Because they didn't do this to West Africans. They didn't do this to people from Curacao. They didn't do this to people from Suriname. You understand?
Right.
So I was like, why do the Somalis accept this treatment? You
Well,
understand? So
well, we have couple
okay.
Somalis here. I'll let them eventually answer that question. So we have H block. Is this Hawir?
Yes, sir. This is how we. How you doing,
Hawir,
bro?
thank you for calling in again. I'm glad you called in, and we see we have only me. So after Hawir, we have only me. So Hawir, from you see I mean you're seeing my title, and um do you agree with my assessment and my explanation of what makes sense politically for Somalia um, to join the Arab League, and also why it makes sense, and also looking at the history of what Somalia's history is, it makes sense why Somalis feel the way they feel. What do you think?
Uh, First, I want to say Merry Christmas to my Ethiopian and Eritrean Habesha Orthodox Christians. I know they're celebrating Christmas today.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Today's their
so
Christmas.
yeah, today is their Christmas. They have a different Christmas. They go by different dates.
Okay.
So I think Egyptians do the same thing. The
The
Coptics.
Coptic, the Coptic.
Yeah.
Well,
So I want to say Merry Christmas to all my Habesha friends, Habesha brothers from a Somali brother. Um, First of all, man, thanks for covering this topic, Afridamus, man. You're doing a great job. Uh, I do understand the reason why Somalia joined Arab League. It made all the sense. Like politically, business wise, it made all the sense. Geographically, everything. Me
yep.
personally, I don't agree that I wish somebody never joined the Arab League. You know,
Why
uh,
is that?
because Somalia is in sub-Saharan Africa. I know when you were saying sub-Saharan Africa, you didn't refer Somalis as sub-Saharan African, but Somalis are Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan. They're all sub-Saharan Africa.
But you see,
So
they move the goalposts. Those countries are not below the Sahara. Even though Somalia has the desert
Somalia has
part.
Sahara. Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
no, yeah, but it's not below the Sahara if you look at the map.
Right. So I do understand, Somalis being a business minded people,
Hmm.
and that also comes from the religion because I think in Islam, business is blessed more than any other occupation. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a businessman, and the Somalis, they want to be like the Prophet, like they want to do everything like the Prophet. That's why they're very business minded people, and that's the reason they joined Arab League, and that's why some Somalis say they originated from Arab. It has everything to do with religion. So like a lot of West Africans and African Americans are always giving Somalis hard time for embracing Islam and for loving, just like the caller before me, just saying that they embracing Arabs.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has something to do.
You want to answer that about what
Yeah,
Amelka was saying?
yes. I mean, it doesn't matter what some Arabs say, what some Arabs, if they call Somalis a beat or not, but like religion is the number one thing in every Somali person, and they're the most religious people in Africa. Except Ethiopians. Ethiopians are very, very religious people too, but in just different religion, Christianity.
Right,
And so like if we're gonna give Somalia a hard time for embracing Islam, for loving Arabs, we got to do the same thing for other Africans too, because Christianity did not come from Africa. That's not an African religion.
I
You know,
understand. Can
and,
I say something about that?
yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. So what I was saying was
Yeah,
the Somalis here were not fighting back. We were telling the Somalis, you guys have to do something about it. We even
right.
had a imam here.
Yeah,
He was citing the
yeah,
Quran, and
yeah,
he is blind. He has a glass eye. So
right.
the Moroccans in the comment section they were saying, what is a marble with shit on it, and then they said the name of that Somali, and we were like, what
I
this?
know.
I was
I
like,
know, bro. I
what
know.
is this? Why do the
Tr-
Somalis take this shit? See,
bro,
even
trust me.
we Christians, well, I'm not
Yeah,
a Christian, but the Christians here, the
yeah,
black Christians, when
yeah.
somebody do something to them, they fight back. And I was like, why do the Somalis just accept this treatment by other Muslims?
Yeah, you know what, bro? Like, I agree with you to a certain extent, right?
Hmm.
Because I have seen Somalis like that too, that kiss Arabs' ass. I lived in Arab
Exactly.
countries. I lived in Arab countries, bro. Trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about. I lived in Egypt, and they make a lot of bad jokes about somebody. They even do
Hmm.
in the television there. They do blackface.
I saw that.
That's so fucking racist, right? They do
Hmm.
that's like a normal in Egypt. When they talk about Somali history and stuff, they will have a Arab Egyptian person paint their face black
I saw
to
that. Hmm.
represent Somalia, which is which is ridiculous, which is racist. So like I do understand how
But you
ignorant
see,
some Somalis can be.
that's
Yeah,
why I like bringing these conversations. In the beginning, it's hard for most people, but if nobody is presenting these arguments, it's
yeah,
hard for people to think along the lines or what
yeah.
um um Amilcar, is talking about here. But let's
Hmm.
Yeah.
allow only me here also real
Okay,
quick.
let me say one thing. I gotta go. I just want to say one
Uh,
more thing before I go.
uh,
So, America, first of all, the experience you had in this, few Somalis in your neighborhood, that does not represent all Somalis.
I said
You
that.
know,
I know.
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but and then, the other point that I wanted to make when people talk about Somalis, they're only talking about one tribe. Somalia is not just one tribe, right?
Hmm.
The name Somali, that's just tribe, just like the Fulani, just like the any other African tribe, and it
Like the
is the
cons,
only
they are
you're
divided
right.
in subgroups. Yeah.
Right. It's the only African country that's named after a country. I mean,
mhm.
the only African tribe that's named after a country.
Right,
But I
and
mean,
even this, this the sea, and
the sea, yeah,
it's just,
The
well, that
Somali
means
sea, yeah,
they, Somalis put their print there, and
right,
um, so I can see how other people would see Somalis as to say, oh, they think they're better than others, but you know,
right. So
um,
Somalis are not homogenous. I know some of my people will disagree with me on this point because Somalis are not homogenous. Like you might see a Somali person on the street, you would not think they're Somali because you have a certain look what Somali should look like. There's Somalis that look like West Africans. I know Somali that look like you, exactly like you, Afrikaans. There are Somalis that look like Europeans. There's Somalis that look like white. So when we talk about Somalis, we only talk about one tribe, the ethnic
one
tribe
track.
that that
Okay,
is that is related to the Afars, the Oromos, the Bejas, the Cushitic ethnic tribe. That's the only tribe we're talking about. We're not talking about the Brawanese. We're not talking about the Arabs. We're not talking about the Somali Bantus. We're not talking about all these other certain groups that also come from Somalia. And another thing that there's no data in Somalia in the last 40 years, so no one knows what the population is. And I give you a good example of this. Before the war, Somalia estimated the Somali Bantus to be only 80,000, and U.S. alone registered almost a million Somali Bantus in Kenya.
really.
900, yes, 900,000 Somali Bantus
So
in
wait,
in
are
the
you
Darfur.
saying it was underreported, or it is people because could it be people that claim to be Bantu? In
No,
maybe in Somalia they did, and then in other territories they claim something different.
yeah, I mean, a lot of Bantus claim they're Kenyan, even though they don't even speak Swahili. They might be born in refugee camp in Kenya,
Yeah,
and
I've met Somalis, people
yeah,
that, okay, I thought they are Somalis, but they would tell me that they are Kenyan.
yeah. I've seen that, and that has a lot of to do with discrimination, and some people they just don't want to explain what the difference is because when they say Somalis, a lot of people say no, you don't look like Somali, so they just don't want to get into that, so they just tell them they're Kenyan. So
Okay.
that's the point that I wanted to make. Like Somalis are not homogenous people, and
Okay,
I don't
I'll let
know.
wait. you got a minute and wait for only me to come in. Only me,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Hi, hello, good evening. I'm
Good evening.
here.
And
Hi.
only me, what do you think about today's show?
Today's show was an excellent show, and yes, I liked the show was very nice because you know what? A lot of people don't know about Somalia, right? They
Right.
don't know the history of Somali people. They don't know anything about our background. The only thing they know is after the war, where the
Mm-hmm.
Somalis we came to the West, and this is where we meet, and this is how what they see, right?
Right.
As I stated before, my whatever is going on right now doesn't define who I am, and as I said, that the future tells good for us,
So
inshallah.
only me, let me
Anyway,
ask you this. Let me ask you
yes.
this. So from what do you think about my assessment and my explanation of what I think about
Amazing.
why Somalia it
Mm,
makes sense for them to join the Arab League? Do you agree with
amazing.
my explanation or
Yes,
not?
I do agree with your explanation, and because look, as you can see the car, I have the map right now.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, Somalia is close to the east,
Yes, it's not
and
sub-Saharan.
it is close to. I also post up the first. You can put
Yeah,
that
so
one
I
link
saw
up.
it. I saw it.
Exactly. So we are very close to the east, and we have been trading with these people for centuries. I mean, a millennia, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we do know these people inside and out, and also we do share religion.
And
Religion in
also,
Somalia,
yeah,
yes.
you know, because I remember in the last show you pointed out, you talked about religion, Somalia being Islam,
Mhm.
and the Pan African didn't want to hear that,
They
you
didn't
know.
want to hear
So,
that.
but if you look at it, like I explained from the time, because when people read about Puntland, you know,
Mhm.
Punt, the land of the gods, that place is actually today's Somalia. Like,
Geographically, yes.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
Somalia. Those people.
Yes. Yes.
So, so they've been in the God game, you know, like a long,
For a
long time.
very long time. And by the way, the man that you showed, the prime minister who been killed 1960s,
Hmm.
he is actually my uncle, my mother's first cousin. Okay,
Oh, okay.
that yeah, he was my great uncle because he was the first cousin from my mother. That was the prime minister who been assassinated. Yes, and so we are right there, right? So Somali, whatever you guys were watching, you can research and you can do your own research. All right. So
Oh, I did.
the
I did
yeah, no, I
I
mean the other guys who are in the chat, they can do their own research. They can find out because they don't know nothing about Somalia, right? Somalia, you know what it is you see it right now and what happened the past 30 years, but that's not who we were. And what I want to say was the brother, he said Somalia is not homogeneous, which
yeah,
is,
yeah. I
look,
was gonna ask
people,
you that. Go ahead and
exactly,
answer that.
people don't understand one thing. Somalia, there's many ethnic groups who live, which are minorities. We have Bantu, Barawanis, Hamad, we have different Bajunis, Arabs live also in Somalia, but they are smaller group. But when we're talking about Somalis, we're talking about the 80-90% of the tribe called Somali people. And these people stay together and they don't, that homogeneous mean that they did not mix a lot with other people. That's what
Right.
homogeneous mean. Not the people who live in the land. We have a lot of minorities, definitely. So that's that. The other guy here, he said that about the Somalis and the Moroccans. Listen, I don't know what Somalis you are around, but what I know from Somalis are damn warriors. If somebody say, I don't know what happened to those that you in your neighborhood, but
No, it
I
was
don't
not in my
think
neighborhood. It was at school, and there were
what
a lot of Somalis. You know, we
what
had a lot of Somalis here, and when
oh,
they got discriminated against, they didn't stand up, and there were actually
yeah,
other
yeah,
Africans saying,
yeah,
"You guys need to do something about it," because
yeah.
you guys
I
keep
don't
calling them because you guys keep calling them your Muslim brothers, but they mistreat you guys, and you guys don't do nothing about it. That was
I okay,
mhm,
yeah, I heard everything you said before, so I want to answer
mhm.
that. So I don't know what people you're talking about. Normally, Somalis are
Somalis.
I know Somalis. What kind of Somalis you talk? But the thing is, Somalis are normally together. We normally
Mhm.
form a small community.
Organization.
We
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
we don't mix with Arabs, and we don't mix with everybody else. We just stay together in little Mogadishu. We wherever we come, we form a little
No,
Mogadishu.
that's
This
that's
is
true. That's
normal,
true.
right?
No, but
That
that's
is
at
true.
school we used to
So
mix together. That's what I'm saying.
so yeah, as the brother before me said, you have seen a small community of Somali who behave like
Mhm.
this. This
Mhm.
is not the majority of
No,
Somalis.
I believe
I
that.
would never ever take that shit from anybody. I remember on TikTok there was
Mhm.
Arab who were coming for a black Muslim woman who was
See?
wearing braids as hijab.
Mhm.
All Somalis were all over the Arabs. It became like
Mhm.
Somalis against the Arabs, even though the woman was not even an Arab. I think she was West African
Mhm.
woman, who they were like making fun of her. They were very mean to her, and the Somali
Mhm.
came to her aid, and then it turned out to be like Somali against Arabs, right?
Mhm.
So we don't take bullshit. I will never take bullshit from anybody. But
Mhm.
yeah, it is what it is. Whatever community you see, but that doesn't define 29
No, no,
million
no. I know
people
that.
around the world, right? So that
Mhm.
we have to put that on the side. What I wanted to tonight, I like the show really because we have to learn from each other. This
Thank
is the
you.
most important thing. If you don't know each other, we cannot respect each other, right? I love the history of the Mali Empire. I love the history of Songhai Empire. You understand? I know
Agree.
this history. I know these people. You understand?
Mhm.
I know the first university in this freaking planet where it was. I know that. I know Masa Musa. So I respect when I know the history of these people, right? But if
Mhm.
you don't know the history of these people, you cannot respect. And that was very nice from you, the brother Afrodimos, that today you at least a little glimpse of the history of Somalia, right? So
Well, well,
that's nice.
well,
Mm,
because I realize most people really like um don't know much about, you know, about
no,
Somalia. Because
no.
from the previous conversation, I know everyone's attention went to, like the Gerer or because they said negative words attract so much attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so you raise points and then the conversation drift into Pan-Africanism. I said, huh, there's a problem here
The
because the people don't know Somalia's history,
Siad Barre,
so
actually. Siad Barre, let me, I'm sorry, I cut you. Siad Barre was very Pan Africanist. This guy, even though he was a dictator, he was
mhm,
a very much Pan-Africanist. We have streets in Somalia called like Villa Library. We have different African countries in streets in Mogadishu, and he was very. And also I watched your video before, the last video where there was a genocide of 200,000 people.
right, which
Brother,
said, yeah.
brother, Siad Barre made a lot of bad things,
Mhm.
but the 200,000 people is just out of my blowing my mind because the city he bombed was
Mhm.
not even 20,000 people live that city. It
Really?
was not even 20. It
So they
blew my mind.
so they
200,000 people.
they
That was,
exaggerated?
yes, but it did happen though. He did
Mhm.
kill a lot of, he killed a lot of people from my clan, right?
Mhm.
So it did happen. I'm not saying it did not happen, but 200,000 is a little bit too much of reach, right? But yeah, anyways, he was very, very pan-Africanist. Somalis did fight, and everything that said in this video, you can just go and research on your own. You will find the history of that. But yeah, we are ancient people. We lived there for thousands of freaking millennia. We lived there, and yeah, and this Arab, why we, yeah, about the question about Arab League, right? So
Yeah.
Somalis, we have a lot of, as I said, ancient trade,
Mhm.
Islam, all these things come in a contact, right? So this is like something that the Somalis felt at the time. Okay, religion was the first thing. We have more religious, and religious comes with a lot of culture that comes with the religion too. So and all this ancient trading and ancient history that we have with these people, they felt more inclined. They felt a little bit more understanding in this side of the world, right?
Mhm.
So that's why we joined. The brother said, "Oh, we should not have joined with this and that." I don't know.
There's
The
another
Arab
person,
League,
Liban
yeah.
said
Oh, he can come.
they shouldn't
Yeah,
have joined either. But
exactly. So
like I
I'm
said, that's why
saying
I like opening this
it's politic, right?
conversation because
It's pol.
in the Pan-African spaces,
Yeah.
any African country that align with the Arab League. They think, okay, these people have taken
There
their
must be a benefit.
loyalty. They've taken their loyalty from Africa, but no, they are not thinking about what actually makes sense. People, like what actually makes sense. So that's where I
It's
come
commerce,
into
trading. Yeah,
Exactly.
trading.
Trading was
Yeah,
very easy for us to trade. It's
sure.
easier for us to trade with Saudi Arabia than trade with Nigeria, for
uh,
instance. You
Exactly.
have
I
to
know
just
that.
definitely.
calculate, right?
Hmm.
Hmm, hmm.
So it's easier for me to trade with Yemen, which I can just throw a stone on it, than
Hmm.
trading with Ghana. So
Hmm.
that is plays also a role, right? So this is, but okay, if you say I should not have, this is politic, and the politic they look to which one is the easiest way for them, and that's what they saw fit, right? So I
Plus,
don't
you
know.
cannot sell
Yeah,
camel
yeah,
milk to Nigeria.
exactly,
They're not.
exactly.
Afridamus,
Even
Yeah.
let me tell you this. Even our president now, Sissoko, is a Muslim. So
In
our trading
Guinea-Bissau.
in Guinea-Bissau, so our trading relationships with Senegal, which is like I think 98%
Hmm.
Muslim, improved. So everything we're getting a lot of things from Senegal now because he's a Muslim president. You
mhm.
understand? So
Right.
so I understand what she's saying. It's more
Yeah.
about commerce. What makes sense? I understand that,
And
of
also
course.
halal food. Like when we
Yeah,
trading
true.
food, it has to be halal. So we
Hmm.
need halal food. We don't eat certain foods, and we have to dress certain way, and those dresses, clothing comes from like certain place.
Yeah, true.
It's all disconnecting. It's
It's
not only say,
cultural. Yeah.
oh, because you are black, you have to be here.
Hmm.
We have to also see the bigger picture. What
Of
is the
course.
benefit my people, and where is it? Like I can just not say, okay, I have to trade with Nigeria. There is no highway that connects Nigeria and Mogadishu.
Hmm.
Like how are we gonna
See,
do
this
that?
is why I like bringing these topics. At least people have learned quite a bit on this. Um, I know the show is going well. We're having fun, but wherever there's fun must come to an end at some point.
Can I just ask a
I
last question?
no, I'll let you guys say it.
Okay.
We're coming towards the end,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna let you give you 2 minutes and then 2 minutes to only me on then myself. Go for it.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So only 2 minutes. My question was: so you guys think that the pictures on the walls of Egypt are Somalis and not Egyptians and Sudanese people, right?
No, no, they were there, but some of the people they are depicting are Somalis. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do more research on that because
Yes.
the research that I've done is
Look up
they didn't say
Puntland.
nothing.
Look
No,
up
yeah, okay,
Puntland.
but even in Punt there were a lot of mixed people. But okay, I understand that. So the only thing that I wanted to say, my closing statements is I don't hate nobody. I think hate is a weakness. I was just talking about the experience that I had with them here, and I wanted them to do something about. There's only it's only the Netherlands. The Netherlands is very small. I'm not talking about Somalis in Japan, in Egypt, in
Hmm.
only here. So I don't hate anybody. I don't hate only me,
But
and
I
I like
understand
your
where you're
freedoms.
coming
So
from,
yeah.
really. I would be
So
pissed too if I would see that some other
mhm.
African doing that. I would be pissed too. I
Because
understand where
you
you're coming
understand me
from.
being 16, I looked at them. The first thing I didn't know nothing about history, only Portuguese history and history from Guinea-Bissau. So I came in, I saw them, and I was like, "Oh, these are my brothers." You understand? And we got along well. It was just when I saw Morocco's mistreating them, I was like, well, "Why these people? What's going on with them? Just fight back." So that was my only point. So I'm not saying all Somalis not that. The video showed it. It's not only that, and I've seen also Somalis fighting for I think like 30 or 40 years, fighting and fighting and fighting. So I know Somalis are not weak. I was talking merely about the Somalis here in the Netherlands. That was it. I don't hate anybody.
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Yeah.
thank you
Okay.
for clarifying that. All
Yeah.
right,
Thank.
only me. You are up.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. That's nice, and well, that's very nice. So, oh, I'm so sorry
What
tonight.
what do
I
you, what
was, yes,
what do you want to say in your last words from the conversation that we had to where we are, people learning about Somalia's
yeah,
history,
yeah.
before it was tense, but
Okay.
it's an education process,
Mm, yes,
and
absolutely.
obviously, we've established that Somalia, despite what anyone says, they've proven themselves from many, many years back to show that they are 100% pan-Africanist.
Mhm. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, the brother said, the Egyptian. Look, I have a picture on my. I have a map on my thing. You can see how these people were literally related. These people had a same bloodline, and it's you see the whole
Mhm.
thing is like literally related with the ancient people, right? So although Somalia had their own ancient civilization, like the Puntite, and actually my name is on Puntite Princess,
Mhm.
so they had their own ancient thing, but literally these people were all one people once upon a time anyways. So yeah, this is what it is in Somalia, and I hope that we respect each other. I really truly hope that this, Afidamos, I have seen the comments after the video. It is some people are just pure hate. Some people just pure hate, spitting pure hate, just commenting over and over and over and over again. And some people even try to take the ancient medieval Somali kingdoms. Like my cousin, my nephews and nieces are from this tribe of Somalis, and they
Right.
say no, these are Arabs. You understand? This
Mhm.
is disgusting. In the end of the day, becomes very too much, too much. So
Well, at
please
least
don't push. Yeah,
hopefully
yeah, no,
this information, more and more
exactly. Clear
information helps.
something,
And
clears up.
you come in, it's
Mm-hmm,
good. You
mm-hmm,
come
mm-hmm.
here,
No
you
disrespect.
defend, no disrespect, and
No, I
you
never
can lay out
disrespect
facts.
anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never intend to disrespect anybody. But the thing is, we have to. My last word is we have to respect it. If you push people too much, then they will turn against you. You
Right.
understand? So the pushing has to stop somehow because it feels like some people are pushing us to the water and there is nowhere going back, and that's not good. Just leave us on whatever we've been doing, and we will leave you whatever you're doing, and we will hope for each other for the best. That's what I want to end with.
Okay, Jerels, did you hear that?
I did not say that. You said it.
Well,
You
well.
said it.
I mean, at least I gotta finish it with something light, okay?
Exactly.
I know somebody's gonna come and say, Afrodamus, I can't believe you said it. Yes, I did say it. Okay?
Okay.
Lighten up a
Thank you for
little bit.
having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's bringing us to the end of today's show. As you guys see, it's all about that education, that discussion, edutainment. But tomorrow we have a different topic. Black tax. Many of you have heard about black tax. It will be something different. Some of you are going to be familiar with it. Probably most of you. You know, some of you are probably son husbands. You know how some are groomed to become their mom's husbands. That helps foster the black tax. So I'm going to talk about that um, tomorrow or Sunday, but whichever comes first. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've learned something from the Somali topic here, to see how far their history goes, to show you why they feel the way they feel. I don't believe they have anything against other Africans. They are just proud of their history. They're just proud of who they are, and they want to stick with that. That's not a diss against you, me, or anyone else. As far as the Jarrell thing, the curly hair, it makes sense because look at the ancient people's hair there. So hair is a thing. So they probably like, okay, you don't have the long curl, so that would be the Jarrell, and this one is the curly hair. But people can use words to mean other things that it doesn't mean. Remember how like Dr. R just yells out Kunta Kinte? It really didn't mean anything. That's just a name of somebody. But he just said it. In reality, why would anyone be upset over that? I was asking the questions because and whatever people say, I like to know the logic behind it. It doesn't necessarily always have to be with what think it should be. I'm asking the question because somebody who isn't up here wants to know about it. They want to know why the person said what they said. So that's just what it is. But if people just Just because the person said kunte kinte and you're pissed off, what are you pissed off about? What are you pissed off about? Because the guy said kunte kinte. But then ask the guy, what do you mean by kunte kinte? What meaning are you giving it? Or maybe what story? It's like, oh, the slave story. Well, this guy, the story is the guy got kidnapped, taken into slavery. I don't see how, calling somebody that name to be an insult. So if you really think about it and someone breaks it down, you would understand these are just words. They really don't hold any meaning. But we would never come to that conclusion if we are not willing to have mature, open conversations. And like FB and I just said, Kunta Kinte means West African. Hey, that's where he was from. But there's nothing wrong in that. And people should be willing to talk about that. Ask the person, what do you mean? Rather than being offended. Because people are programmed to be offended by these things. So that's why I come in here and break that spell so people understand. You don't need to be upset over these things. It's childish. It's like showing up at the playground, someone making fun of you, and you going for it. It makes no sense. And like Dwayne said, yes, calling him Toby is worse than calling him by his actual name. You're absolutely right. That's the logic. That's what I was trying to lay out there. So people see, look at this man, calling this man by his birth name, supposed to be an insult. But the name that the slave master want to give him is no problem. That's the whole point I'm trying to get you to see. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. As you know, I'm here to unite you with the truth rather than divide you with lies. It's not going to be pretty for everybody, but that doesn't mean the truth won't be told here. I hope you had a great time because I did. Have a good one.